Ask the Mayor. Your chance to ask the Mayor of Weymouth, Bob Hedlund, questions about the town and or anything else that you have concerns about. Ask the Mayor is pre-recorded. And now, Ask the Mayor with Bob Hedlund.
Hey, welcome back to another edition of Ask the Mayor. I'm Jim Melody. After a brief hiatus, I'm happy to be back, Bob. And how are you today on this lovely October day?
Excellent, Jim.
It's been
and glad you're back after you. We covered for you. We said you were stuck in traffic on the North Shore, but there were conflicting reports as to why you actually missed the last taping. One was traffic on the North Shore, and the other was I forgot.
Well, listen, I want to make sure we're clear and honest. As always, full transparency with our viewers. The buck stops with me. It was my responsibility. I won't go into the details, but I do apologize to our viewing audience.
I won't go into the details. So you forgot.
As I said, the buck stops with me.
Okay.
Now,
you had an able fill-in, I might add.
And I thought the show was phenomenal. I like the Hedlund on Hedlund concept.
I'm thinking we should do a whole show of me interviewing me, and we get through a lot more questions than we normally do.
Wow.
So let's do it.
On that note, are you ready, Mayor?
We have a new prop. We're ready.
Bob, the issue today is water, and it has been raining for 3 days, so I don't know why we're talking about water, but here we go. Why do I have to pay the MWR way to water my tomato plants, flowers, and fill my pool? Wait a minute, I lost.
Go ahead. That's all right.
Why do I have to pay the MWRA to water my tomato plants, flowers, and fill my pool? Some towns have two. There's no punctuation here. I'm very sorry, guys. This is the first time I see the questions as well. Why do I have to pay the MWRA to water my tomato plants, flowers, and fill my pool? I presume, period. Some towns, do you want to take this question? I'm sorry, I'm lost. I'm doing my best. I hope you guys are going to edit the crap out of this, needless to say.
It's okay, we stay with it. Why do I have to pay the MWRA to water my tomato plants, flowers, and fill my pool? Some towns have 2 meters. Why is that not an option in Weymouth? I'm told some businesses in Weymouth have 2. Why is it not an option for residents? Well, the I'm told part I don't believe is accurate. So basically what he's saying, Jim, is because we have MWRA sewer and your sewer charges are based on your water usage, as you know,
yes,
as a homeowner, he's wondering why, if he waters his lawn and it's not going into the sewer system, why does he have to pay that? Why can't he have a separate meter for sewer and water? And it's a great question we get asked all the time. And the short answer is that and we are in a split system, so we base our sewer rates obviously on the water usage. The town, as you might recall, and you were here, in the 1990s had a significant water issue, and we were beyond our safe yield in terms of usage, and we were under a consent decree from the Department of Environmental Protection and had to engage in lots of conservation measures. We had issues with our sewer system, I might add, at the time also. So one of those measures was not allowing 2 meters, separate metering, and that was to encourage conservation. And if you look at your water bill, and I can't remember what the unit threshold is off the top of my head, but if you look at your water bill, you've got that split rate, which is also designed and was designed at the same time when we had our DEP issues to encourage conservation. So if you get beyond a certain threshold, you pay a higher rate for the higher usage. So these are all measures that were implemented then because of water being the resource that it is and where we are in terms of protecting overall usage. It's probably not anything that's going to change. There are other measures that the town's done a pretty good job, I'd say, over the last 20 years since our form of government changed, and we had to deal with that issue. Mayor Madden took a bold step in building the second water treatment plant in town. The town has aggressively addressed I&I issues with the water delivery system and with our sewer system.
I&I?
Infiltration, leakage getting into our MWRA pipes, which we have to then pay for. That has been a significant improvement in this town, bringing and keeping our rates down. We don't have control over MWRA sewer rates, but we've faced an increase in the past year, which we We did not, or the year before, we did not pass that along. We absorbed that into the system. So we try to keep the cost down on the MWRA side, and we try to protect the resources we have. So it's impractical and would fly in the face of what was negotiated 20 years ago with DEP if we allowed the separate metering.
It's interesting you said if you look at your water bill, I don't think I've ever looked at anything but the bottom line on that thing. It's very detailed, obviously, so it's all broken out on the bill.
Well, I mentioned specifically the split rate, so there is an explanation on that, which goes hand in hand, was implemented at the same time as the ban on the separate metering.
There you go. All right, we want to get through a lot of questions, so I'm going to go right into the next one. Robert, this one's from Catherine O'Brien, and the title is New Urgent Care Facility in Independence Square. I live in South Weymouth and just got a good look at the new facility while parked at in the lot of the Marshalls and the Whole Foods. I think this facility sticks out like a sore thumb and can't believe the town fathers agreed to this. I'm surprised for its size of the scale on the lot, and it's a few stories high. There's no way you can miss it. Just wanted to voice my opinion. Other than that, you're doing a great job around town. And once again, from Catherine O'Brien. What do you think about that,
Well,
Bob?
if that's her only complaint, because she does say other than that, then we'll take it. So the town fathers, yes, approved it in the sense that I think that was basically done by, there was some BZA, Board of Zoning Appeals element to that. I don't remember what it was, but I know that was vetted by the district councilor there. It was vetted by me, and certainly more vetted by the planning department. We thought that was an improvement to the neighborhood, not just because of the service it will provide, but getting rid of that gas station, which had been an environmental disaster at times. If you recall, that was the source of a major groundwater contamination problem at one time. You had the travel agency and the laundromat. So I personally, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I think that building is going to be much more attractive than the 3 businesses that it replaced. I don't think that at that Independence Square intersection, those old buildings that were there, I think will an eyesore, and that this is an improvement. Is it bigger in scale? Maybe not in total, because we had that discussion when they were before. The BZA action was actually relative to the signage, now that I recall. I think the total square footage is not much bigger than what it replaced, but now it's more condensed and you have more parking. So anyway, I think it's an improvement. It's certainly an improvement based on what it means for us for tax revenue, what it means for us for new growth, building permit fees, and those are the things, quite frankly, because we don't have the commercial base that other communities around us have, that we rely on to provide for the increases in funding our schools and things like that. And that company that came in, we vetted them very thoroughly. They're based in New Hampshire. It's their first Massachusetts location. They have a great track record in New Hampshire. We think it's a better service than the gas station, as I said, and they provided some community benefit when they came in too, in addition to what it means in terms of the tax revenue for the town, for the construction and the new growth. So, like I say, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and we appreciate her input on that.
Yeah, it's definitely dramatic. I just drove by it less than a half hour ago. A follow-up to that, Bob, would be
it is on a commercial corridor. It's not like it rose up in a neighborhood either.
But the proximity to the hospital, I find interesting that the urgent care facility would be literally across the street from the hospital emergency room.
Right, and I might add, they're not affiliated with the hospital.
Oh, they're not? Oh,
they're
for some reason I thought there was.
And, your provider probably, that's a trend now. Your primary care provider probably has an urgent care element to their services, right? So it's a trend in that industry, and they've got a great track record up in New Hampshire.
Well, I personally have used Healthcare Express in the past. They were phenomenal. So I think those facilities have definitely been a positive addition to the community at the end of the day. All right, we're going to keep moving forward on these questions, Bob. This one, a lot going on with the library, needless to say. And this person had a comment regarding what's going on at the library. Dear Mayor, I am very happy and look forward to a new Tufts Library in 2020.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, but
right,
shutting down.
Question. That's all, folks.
There's always another shoe to drop on, but shutting down the other libraries for a month seems a little drastic.
Shutting down the other libraries?
I'm very happy and look forward to a new Tufts Library in 2020, but shutting down the other libraries for a month seems a little drastic.
Okay, that was my reaction when the plan was presented, but I can't micromanage every department, and They laid out their explanation why they needed this to do the transition, and so be it. So next time you visit your local library, you can get a deeper explanation from Rob and his staff on that. But to touch quickly on that, I mean, one of the things that necessitated this was the fact that, you know, we searched for reasonable temporary space for the Tufts Library, and we couldn't come up with anything here in town. And I'm sure if you think about what's out there, you probably can't think of anything either. And we couldn't. We put an RFP out, a very wide open RFP too, looking for suggestions, and nothing materialized. So the plan now, to accommodate the closure while we rebuild and replace Tufts, is we'll be using our other 3 branches, and the library made the case that they need that period of time to transition everything and switch over everything that they got to switch over, whether it be inventory and computer lines and all that. So it's a difficult time for them, and I wasn't going to get into a big discussion about it, to be honest with you.
Bob, you know, when I'm bouncing around town, the thing I hear the most from people who comment on our show is they learn so much about what's going on in the town from the show. And I think I just learned something. I was not aware of the fact. So all the libraries will be shut down for a month while we transition.
And then the programming, scheduling, hours, everything's changed. If you go to the town website, the town Facebook page, or the mayor's Facebook page, you will see the flyer that's been created that publicizes the new hours and where the different programming. Just briefly, the children's programming will be at FOG, for instance. I won't get into the whole thing.
Sure.
Look at the flyer, but
Sure.
And the hours are expanded for all the branches.
What month, when will these libraries be closed down?
Go to the website, but I think it's November is the month that the libraries are shut down.
Okay, so check that out, everybody. That definitely sounds very
And we break
interesting.
ground late December, early January on the new library.
Bob, as we move on to our next question, as everybody knows, we take the questions as they come in. They're rarely edited, so put on your flak jacket and get ready for this one. It's from Joe Blow. I'm writing this knowing that Mayor Bob will not see this. You, I presume me, the producer, and the host of this show are a buffoon. That's me, I suppose. What audience are you targeting? 3 to 5-year-olds? The graphics are immature and poorly produced and add nothing to the broadcast, which is poorly produced to begin with. It's bad enough that Mayor Bob doesn't answer most of the questions anyway, but when he does answer, it's usually in a condescending and unintelligible tone. This guy's the mayor? Wow. Concluding, since you love this guy so much, I presume that's me, what are my thoughts on the matter?
So he's asking you or me?
First of all, you're the boob, I'm the jerk, I think. I'm not really sure.
And Jeff is the poorly produced...
Listen, my only comment before you answer is, without the graphics, I don't know if this show would be as entertaining, and I think the boys do a great job.
I think this letter is entertaining, and I'm disappointed he didn't put his name on it, which kind of could be construed as cowardly, that you would hide behind your keyboard and not provide your name, and I wouldn't be upset. In fact, trolls. In fact, he can write back, and I'd offer him the guest host position for a show, if he'd like.
And I'm willing to give up the chair.
So he addresses a question to you.
I'm not really sure. It seems to be full of...
I thought I've done a pretty good, what are we in our 53rd episode, and I thought I've been pretty good at answering questions. I don't have all the answers sometimes, and do I obfuscate on occasion? Yes, but not regularly.
If the question to me is, since I love you so much, Bob, the reason why I think you are doing such a great job is, name me another politician out there that would allow the slings and arrows of Jeff's hijinks and graphic attacks on this guy. Most politicians I've found have been phenomenally thin-skinned, and you take the slings and arrows, and I think that's what makes the show funny, and I think that's what makes you different.
This is very confusing, though. It says, concluding, since you love this guy so much, here is a question for you personally. And then you didn't read the question.
Well, I thought it got a little aggressive. Would you like me to finish it?
I guess.
Okay.
Despite the fact that it's anonymous, but go ahead.
Concluding, since you love this guy so much, here's a question for you personally. While a state senator for 17 years, name me 2 bills that Bob Hedlund sponsored or co-sponsored that made it to committee, made it out of committee to a vote on the Senate floor, then passed a roll call vote and actually benefited the citizens of Weymouth. In bold type, you can't because they they doesn't exist. I guess apparently
So
he
he's
didn't go to
asking
Weymouth.
you to name two of my
Yeah,
bills?
exactly. This boob, your buddy, did nothing for 17 years but F over the people who paid his salary. You defend him. That makes you a co-conspirator. Have a nice day. Well, thank you for that. You have a nice day.
So name the two bills.
The two bills that you sponsored, co-sponsored, that benefit the town of Weymouth.
And went out of committee and received the full
that I
vote.
would know of.
If you don't even know how to get from point A to point B in Weymouth, I doubt you're going to know two bills that I filed.
Two bills that you co-sponsored that made it to that benefit.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Would you like to answer it?
We can, but I don't want to. We have a stack of questions, but we could talk about Melanie's bill. We could talk about AG's jurisdiction over water rate increases. We could talk about preservation of the outer Brewster Islands, MDC, DEM mergers. We can go on, but that's nonsense, the bill. I mean, the comment is
Well, and isn't it fair to say that how many Republican senators were on the Hill when you were doing your thing? 6, 7 out of
Well, I could get into another aspect of the show to talk about how your assistant minority leader probably had more influence on the proceedings than your average rank and file Democrat, despite the vast majority of Democrats. For instance, there was a retiring legislator from the South Shore here who won't be named. I mean, he ran against me once, but we won't name it. I mean, he had a long run in the legislature, never once served on a conference committee, never once served as a chairman or vice chairman, but having been ranking member, I had the opportunity to serve on 22 conference committees, actually probably 24. Mostly every transportation bond bill that went through had my imprint on it because of my role in the conference committee. So it depends on where you sit within your particular caucus. So anyway, we're the mayor now, and let's get to some mayoral questions. And
Let's move on.
Joe Blow can write back, and I'll happily have him come in, and he can do a segment and grill me about that stuff. We'd love to have it.
Again, we offer the chair to Joe Blow at his discretion. All right, Bob, this one's about billboards. Can we discuss the billboard trade, Route 3A to Route 3, and the placement of the new billboards? I have a fear that the electronic billboards will go right into my mother-in-law's bedroom on Front Street. This is from Brian Kelly. I'm not familiar with the billboard shuffle. What's going on?
So he is, without getting into too much details, very long, complicated issue, but we were approached by billboard brokers who, because of the way the state regulations are, they identified a couple areas on Route 3 where it would be suitable under the state regs to site billboards. Our zoning did not reflect that after consultation with the council and based on a plan that was offered to us, whereby we could remove all of the billboards on Route 3A, which are a real bugaboo up there, as you know. The trade-off would be if we permitted 2 billboards on Route 3. So we would eliminate, I think, 6 faces on Route 3A or 5 faces on Route 3A for 2 on Route 3. The 2 on Route 3 would be electronic, high-tech, modern in nature, that very, the way you can do the directional lighting and the tone of the lighting, they don't have a big impact. I can assure him that it will not go in his mother's bedroom.
Well,
the way
what
these are
residences
designed.
are on Route 3? How could that really
They're on the
infringe
other
upon
side
us?
of Route 3, so he's
Okay.
worried it'll actually transmit across. One of the other benefits in this deal, there's 2 other benefits in this deal. One is that we have a billboard in Abington that shines in the bedrooms. It's an old style with big spotlights, and it lights up everyone's units that are on the Weymouth side of the border. Abington sited this thing right on the Weymouth line, and there's a condo development right there that everyone's impacted by it. As part of this deal, we also negotiated that they take that down, and they put a modern electronic billboard there that they can adjust the directional lighting of it. And it's just like the new modern technology with the lights at our ball fields. You can have the light the way it floods and not impact neighborhoods, unlike the old technology that it just, spread out far and wide. The other part of this is one of the beneficiaries of the billboard is the Bristol companies. And as part of the trade-off to do this, they agreed to back off on a project at the end of Fennell Drive on a large piece of property they bought from South Shore Hospital, who had acquired it from Fennell. It was bequeathed to the hospital by Fennell. And they were going to do a very large housing project there and impact the neighborhood over there. We negotiated as part of this deal a deal whereby part of the billboard revenue goes to buy the land. We are acquiring the land to preserve it as open space. And as part of the actions of our new open space committee that we formed, We're already in the process of planning for a trail program there. It's adjacent to Gagnon Park, which you as a young Weymouth lad, I'm sure, traversed.
Who could forget?
And it actually dwarfs Gagnon. I think it's 5 times the size, 6 times the size of Gagnon. So we'll be increasing our open space portfolio. All these tie together with the deal to permit those billboards. And I can assure him that his mother's bedroom over on Front Street will not be affected.
So essentially, it's the same company that owns all the 3A billboards that's agreed to transition over to 3?
No, it's an independent broker that negotiated this deal, and they are talking to Clear Channel now. But the revenue is so great from the electronic billboards that they're able to subsidize in perpetuity the landowners who are currently the landlords of those signs. But they've agreed to take them down and still receive their rent payments.
So at the end of the day, we have less
It's a
billboards.
win-win for the owners. It's a win-win for Route 3A beautification. It's a win for the abutters of Fennell and Gagnon. It's a win for the town because of the open space preservation, the folks who were impacted by Abington, and I don't believe, and one of these is right on the Hingham line, by the way. We control the messaging. We control what subject matter can go on there for advertising. We are allowed X number of hours per month or year to get our own messaging out there for things that we want to bring to the attention of folks. So it's a good deal.
Sounds phenomenal, actually. Hey,
it's almost done, but we're hung up on a little issue that's between Clear Channel and the broker, and hopefully that's resolved soon.
As we're cruising towards the end of this episode of Ask the Mayor, we want to remind everybody to keep the questions coming in to askmayorbob@gmail.com. We appreciate all the questions, needless to say, so keep them coming to askmayorbob@gmail.com. All right, Rob, Bob, this one is a little more on the lighthearted side. Dear Mayor, I really enjoy going out for a bite to eat at least once a week, and I'm continually frustrated with the lack of fine dining in Weymouth. Aside from stockholders, where should local residents dine? I know how much you hate Weymouth residents spending their money in other towns and thereby improving the other towns' meals tax fund. But when will we see the finer side of dining here in Weymouth? I think that I and a number of my foodie friends are willing to pay a higher ticket for a better dining experience. Just my humble opinion, and this one is anonymous, but it's an interesting question. And fine dining, of course, is a relative perspective. What's your thoughts on the fine dining scene in the great town of Weymouth?
We certainly don't have as many options as Braintree and Hingham, that's for sure, and it's reflected in our meals tax revenue. But she mentions, or he or anonymous mentions stockholders. Certainly their sister restaurant, Precinct 10, I've found the food to be spot on there and good and consistent. We have a lot of mom and pop smaller places. We would certainly like to see more options, and I think obviously with someday, with the 23 liquor licenses that are available at Union Point, we will see a downtown emerge there with a lot of options, hopefully. I think that will happen. It's a question of timing. And I agree. So there's nothing on the horizon that I can say this is coming or that's coming, but we're very proud of the fact that we worked with Precinct 10. I was with the owner of Precinct 10 the day he walked in to look at the space for the first time, and we assisted them. Our new zoning, by the way, that the council approved, made the ability of restaurateurs to come to Weymouth less of a headache. We had the most restrictive parking requirements for restaurants than any community on the South Shore, which is ironic considering we have the least options. So hopefully that's all going to change.
Bob, you did...
Oh, and the DeLagus building in the landing, we believe, is going to include a restaurant pad. So that's happening. There's new owners of Passport that are in the process now of getting that reopened. I wouldn't put Santa Fe Burrito in the category of fine dining, but that's opening up. There's a couple other smaller places that are opening.
People are saying good things
We
about
have some
that.
Thai options, I mean, they're small, but you can't beat Sweet Lemons and Lime Leaf, and now a third one just opened up on Washington Street. So
what's the name of the place that went into the old
I feel
Kelly's
like I'm
Landing?
running the Phantom Gourmet.
No, and I think you're answering the question. What went into the Kelly's Landing spot? A lot of people are saying good things about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
True North. I
Yeah.
ate there this past weekend with my kid. The food is phenomenal at True North. I wish they'd elongate their hours a little bit. They close a little early on Sundays. It's family run, but that's a great, great option. Food's excellent there.
Awesome.
The food there, it's It's not probably the same portions, say, as stockholders, which really provides you large portions, but the quality at True North is as good as anything in town.
What's going on with the Hay Jars spot, Bob? Is that I know it was sold. Is that even open anymore? Or did that
Jim,
close down
you are
officially?
on a roll.
Yeah.
Jim, you on this question, you're carrying me. That's another great example. Mad Hatter, very successful breakfast location.
Oh, did Mad Hatter actually open up? Is that open
He
officially?
is expanding into a day and evening dining spot with a large capacity, and it'll be very interesting to see what kind of transition he makes from breakfast to lunch and dinner and big menu options. I'm sure it's going to be great. He has a cult following.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call
You would
Main
think
Street-
that you read a couple of Facebook pages here in town, Jim. You would think that that's the Ritz-Carlton.
No, people love it. I know. And of course, Main Street does a great job. I wouldn't call it fine dining, but I mean it's family friendly, affordable. I think they do a great job. I don't
Which
know how,
Main Street?
The Main Street right on Route 18, going down on the
It's about
Abington
to
line.
it's about to get ripped down.
Oh yeah. Well, I know he's been petitioning for big doings. Clumsy
He's been
segue,
approved.
but we're probably.
He's been approved for big doing.
Oh, so that thing's moving forward, huh?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, awesome. Well, listen, we're down to those short strokes here, Bob. There's 2 minutes. I'm not going to take the time to ask another question.
Squeeze one more in.
Well, I was going to give you a final word here, but let's see what we have here. This is, hello, Mayor. I have noticed driving around town that many of the streets do not have street signs. Is there any plan to provide street signs for the streets? And at major intersections, it would be helpful if there were also street signs that had the name of the street that you were on as well as the cross street. I've noticed signs like this in other towns, and it is so helpful when you are giving directions to people or people new to Weymouth are trying to get to places unfamiliar to them. This is from Sheila, who I think is a first-time questionnaire. What do you think?
I wish he had identified the location, because obviously if there's missing signage, we would address it. And one of the things, in fact, we got a signage question the last taping about ugly or what was the word? Distasteful or signs. It was from Barcelo. How's that? Barcelo.
It's a mystery. What's the
Adele.
significance?
Huh?
Adele Barcelo.
Adele.
Aha. Oh, that's okay.
So I don't know what she's talking about. We do have some street signs that are in disrepair. They're either bent sometimes. Kids hang on them and bend them, or they get hit by a car.
Is theft an issue ever? Do people steal those signs at all?
Less of a stealing than more vandalized.
Okay.
I ever see them bent. I said to the DPW director, I go, how do these signs get bent? Kids hang on
Yeah,
them.
they're up 8 feet.
We actually, the state has required, or the feds, I don't know if it's feds or state, I forget, but you see the large font now.
Oh, no
So
kidding.
that's a
They've changed it.
requirement. And we had some discussions about, colors, and there's approved colors you can use besides the standard colors that we have now. Unfortunately, Weymouth maroon is not one of the approved colors, because you see Braintree uses their Braintree blue.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
We can't use maroon. We were thinking about maybe tweaking it, and it'd be a very expensive proposition to transfer everything over, but we were thinking about it. But I don't know where she's talking, but if we know specific locations, we'll get our sign guy out there. And we are trying to remove redundant signs and clutter, and we took 35 redundant signs or out-of-date signs or useless signs just down on Route 3A from Hingham line to the Quincy line that Councilor Hall went out and actually photographed every sign. Then we looked through the book and we figured out which ones we could take down. So we're trying to stay on top of signage.
Boy, in this day of GPS on everybody's phones, I'm wondering, how much is it worth investing in that protocol?
I think the signage is helpful to people like you that sometimes don't know where things are in Weymouth. Like
Between the
Broad
signs
Street,
and the time.
Like Broad Street, for instance.
Well, listen, on that note, I think it's time we wrap up this episode in the edition of Ask the Mayor. Once again, please keep the questions coming to askmayorbob@gmail.com. They're phenomenal. Bob?
I got one.
Go ahead.
Stay tuned for Ask the Manager. Why haven't we thought of that?
That's the first time we've done that.
If you have a question, please email the mayor at askmayorbob@gmail.com. That's askmayorbob@gmail.com. Maybe your question will be answered on the next episode of Ask the Mayor.